Welcome to Talking Halos. Derek Ciapala with my co-host, my partners in crime, Jared Timms, Nate Green, and yes, he's back, John Craine. John Craine. It's been a while since I've done that. John Craine. We were already having a lively discussion before this bad boy was started. So before we even get to that, before we get into the nitty gritty, and we got a lot to talk about, let's do a quick commercial break to get our words for sponsors. All right. There's our quick break. So, guys, everything hit the fan since our last podcast. Ironically, the feedback from fans of our podcast was, I didn't see a whole lot in terms of what we had to say. I thought we'd see more. And then injury after injury after injury. Mike Trout goes down. Shohei Ohtani, blister on his finger, goes down. Anthony Rendon, he's lapped this one, goes down. With already at Drury out, the Angels roster is basically a hospital ward. So, first things first, I don't know how you pronounce it. I've been wondering that all day. Jared, how do you pronounce a hamate bone? Did I say it right? Hamate.
Yeah, it's hamate. I believe that's what it is.
Okay, hamate bone. He went in surgery today, a hamate bone, to fix it. He's expected to be out 4 to 8 weeks. Roughly puts his timeline back early August to early September. We'll see how he recovers. My bet is, knowing him, mid-August or so. I guess, John, I'll go to you right away because I'm in the mood for one of your rants. How do you feel about what this does for the Angels' playoff chances, for the roster overall? Kind of sucks.
I've seen this movie before. I've long called for us to trade Ohtani, as we know, if you listen to the last podcast, that we need to get rid of him. I'm really at this point, as you know, I've said this before, and I got hammered for this before, and you guys will probably hammer me this. Though it's different because I'm not able to go see Angels games as often as I used to like to. I just like going to games. And you know what? And when I have expectations, it really breaks my heart when my expectations get crashed by Mike Trout once again being injured. That's an annual event. It's the Mike Trout's injured out for 6 to 8 weeks, if not more, and then take the last 15, 20 games of the season off because it doesn't matter anyway. This is pretty much the life of an Angel fan. So at this point, I'm really, I've said this before. I'm ready to remove expectations. You guys know, you guys can laugh at me because maybe what I'm saying doesn't make any sense. But I am trade Ohtani. Let the man free. Let him go. Let him go to where he deserves better than the Angels. And he deserves better. And let Trout go. I'm tired of Trout. Trout batted .83 in his one playoff appearance. I understand he's only been to one playoff, but he showed up with a .83. How long do we have to blame the Angels for Mike Trout not making the playoffs? How about we put a little fingers towards Mike and say, Mike, why aren't you getting us to the playoffs? I understand there's a lot more to it than that, but I'm just saying I'm tired of Mike Trout being pitied when, to me, he's part of the problem. God, rip me.
We're about to get destroyed in our comments and reviews this week. John.
It's just John. It's just John.
My God. Just John. And then they go to our Apple reviews and say, the other guys are cool, but John just sucks. Get him on the podcast. 1 star, 1 star, 1 star.
I should say my opinions do not reflect the cast of Talking Halos or their subsidiaries, okay?
All right, so I want to point this out. John, if you go Trout's numbers, like from up until last year, what was his WAR, Jared? I know you know his WAR for his career.
He just jumped into the top 30 for his career. He passed who'd he pass? I forgot who he passed, but he passed the 3 Hall of Famers. He's at
past 3 Hall of Famers.
He's getting close to 70, 75, should I say, 80.
So I'm going to say, John, that kind of blows your argument out of the water in terms of what he's done. The guy's done his share. Other people have done their share. I would say also, too, just to kind of bite back a little bit to you, is when he came back last year off that with his back injury, he basically destroyed the baseball. So to say he took it off, I don't think that's fair to say. I do share your frustration, though, that, since I would say since 2019, he's been getting hurt every year. And your body at some point as a player starts to break down. And I think it sucks to see it break down during what normally would be your peak years. Age 28 to 32 is when that's your peak time. And from 32, you're going down. I don't want to see that. But if you look at how he was swinging the bat the last week, I think he was coming out of the slump. He was back up to 263. I think it's a little hard on him. A hamate injury's that's a freak injury. Like anybody gets it. Jose Ramirez had it not too long ago. I mean, they just happened to. It's a broken bone. It's not like he's walking the first bit. Oh, my hamstring went bye-bye. It's gone. No, that was a legit baseball play where he got hurt. I don't know if I share that criticism. I share that I understand the frustration. Nate, what about you?
Yeah, I've had a couple teammates who have broken their hamate bone, and it's actually odd. Most of the guys that I have been teammates with that have done it have been really hard workers. They've been in the cage all the time. They've been working hard. So I actually think it's one of those things that the more you're working, the more likely you are to have this injury just because of the nature of what it is. It's unfortunate, the timing of it. There are some silver linings to it, actually, if we want to get into that here in a minute. But yeah, it's unfortunate for Mike when it looked like he was starting to swing it a little bit better. He was starting to come out of it. But there are some good things that are going to come out of this, I think. And, it's just one of those things where, yes, it's frustrating that he's hurt, but can we really get mad at him for breaking a bone? Like, it's not one of those things where it's, like you said, it's not a hamstring. It's not something that he really can control. It's, the guy's playing hard every day and something happens. So yeah, I understand the frustration to a degree, but to be fair, I had them win 82 games. So I'm not really too disappointed. I'm just kind of like, well, you set expectations low and this way you don't get hurt.
Hold on. You had him only playing 82 games?
No, I had the Angels only winning 82 games. So
okay.
That way the expectations are low. So if they win 86 or 87, it's great. But when they win 80, 78, 82, whatever, it's like, well, I kind of had them winning that anyway. So I know it's the negative way to look at things, but I'd rather I've watched this way too long to play that game.
But to my point, there is, and I got hammered on this a couple years ago on this podcast, saying that I just enjoy watching baseball. Having this barely above sea level chance of always, maybe if we were to go on a roll and hit the playoffs, always hanging over you. But if you just know you're not going to make the playoffs, you can enjoy baseball. You can just enjoy watching Mike Trout. There's no shame, and there's shame. And see, like I said, I got ripped for this. I'm gonna get ripped for this again. But keep in mind, Derek, I'm just a fan guy. I don't do stats and stuff. When Derek pulled me out of whatever to do this, this is who I am. I'm just an emotional guy. And it's like, I think of like the Ernie Banks. Is Ernie Banks a failure? Because he never, because he played with the Cubs, and he's not a failure. He's a player that just people endure, and enjoyed like watching.
But John, now you're just contradicting yourself by saying that after you just went on your rant about how Mike Trout didn't get us to the playoffs during the 6 years or 7 or 8 years, and it's all Mike Trout's fault. But now Ernie Banks gets the pass for being a Hall of Famer and not getting to the playoffs because it was okay. So now we're just contradicting ourselves. But I had to, John.
You're right. But I guess my point is, if we didn't have Mike Trout, we wouldn't be in this area where we kind of think we might get close to the playoffs.
John, I got a question. I got a question for you, John.
Take it easy on me, Jared. Take it easy.
A fan question. Would you rather have been an Angels fan for the past 10 years or a Dodgers fan for the past 10 years? It's my go-to question when it comes down to it.
But the World Series doesn't count.
The World Series doesn't count. Mickey Mouse World Series. Would you rather have seen Mike Trout play for the last 10 years
and Shohei Ohtani
play for the last 10 years, not go to the playoffs, and probably if you look at it, you're not going to the playoffs, or would you rather be a Dodgers fan have the hope of going, like, you're going to go to the playoffs, have the hope of winning World Series, but never win a World Series? What would you rather be?
See, I don't think I can answer this fairly because the question you're asking me is I specifically chose to be again. I do not like the Dodgers. I didn't like the Dodgers when they had Say, Garvey, Lopes.
What about a Red
Russell.
Sox? Would you
Nice.
rather be a Red Sox
Tommy,
fan then?
No, I hate the Red Sox too because I hate the Red Sox. So no, and this is the point that Trent Rush made that really hit with me. And I said, "Thank." When I was there, I had the privilege of watching history. I had the privilege of watching Mike Trout walk up to the plate every day, make amazing plays. Ohtani, yes, but no, those are bad teams you're picking.
And that's the worst. And that's the thing about the way that Artie Moreno and John Carpino has built this team, built this organization now, is you've built it around 3 superstars. You get to see history on a daily basis. You see modern day Babe Ruth. You get to see Mike Trout, arguably a top 5 player in baseball, and Anthony Rendon. Granted, he's gotten hurt. Yeah. You'd see those 3 guys, but you know, you spent a lot of money and you're not going to the playoffs, right? Like, so
I want to pull a couple things out. John, we kind of picking apart a couple of your arguments, but I want to point out that a lot of people, social media, so on and so forth, a lot of fans have expressed the very same frustrations you expressed. So it's not like John's like on this island. And if you write into us saying John's this, John's that, I'm going to point you to the dude probably sitting next to you in the ballpark who's your buddy, who has said the same hot garbage. Sorry, John, in that respect. Because
that's what I'm here for.
You just called it out. You're a fan. And fan is short for fanatics. We're fans. And when we're thinking about the emotion of it, like, that's what's so great about baseball, is there's the side of it where we'll sit down, we'll analyze the game. We'll talk about the numbers. We'll talk about your WAR, your WOBA, whatever. I mean, half the people don't know what WOBA is, and then there's a part of it where the best part of my summer is getting to the ballpark, sitting in a seat, and watching these guys play this beautiful game. And so, if people want to hammer you for expressing those feelings, and they better not just stop listening to this podcast, because we're both. We have to separate from it sometimes, but we're going to be both. We're going to be fans, and we're going to be the analysts. But John, seriously, be honest. You did not, in the last podcast, say to trade Shohei Ohtani. Your exact words were, "Don't trade Shohei Ohtani."
Yes. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I took that. I thought that was being facetious because I assumed everybody listened to the last podcast. And
not everybody did.
Okay. But my point is that when you don't have Trout and you don't have Ohtani, the season is over. There is no hope. There is no hope to make the playoffs, in my opinion. So at this point, I think, like I said, when I started, the first thing I said was, go prospects. Go prospects. How many prospects can we get for those 2?
We already got guys. Okay, hold on. I got to go to Jared. Jared has been sitting there patiently, and now he's over there having a seizure. Jared, what's going on, man?
You just answered.
Finally.
You just gave into everything that Nate and I have been saying forever. You can't win. You can't win with them, especially if you're extending Ohtani. I love Ohtani. He's great. It's great to cover him. I love watching him. I have great stories. I've met him before. He's a fantastic person. With that being said, you cannot win with 3 guys making $30+ million and Artie Moreno not wanting to go above the luxury tax. It's just plain and simple as that. You can hope you're going to win, and you can say, oh, but Artie's going to go above the luxury tax. It's not going to happen. He hasn't done it yet. He's not going to do it for Ohtani. I mean, he might do it for Ohtani, but he's not going to go above it anymore. And we're going to continue to see the same thing. So as an Angels fan, as somebody who's watched the Angels, as a reporter of the Angels, minor leagues, whatever you want to say, you can't bring him back if you want to win. If you want to see the accolades, if you want to see, Mike Trout, Mike Trout's going to be with the Angels. They're not going to trade him. If you're going to see Mike Trout probably hit close to 700 home runs, you want to see Ohtani pitch and hit for the next 5 years or whatever, however long he does that. Sure, go ahead and resign, but don't expect to win.
one, I would argue the way Mike's breaking down, I don't know that he gets 700, even close to 100. But that's a
He's
different
gonna
podcast.
600, but still.
Okay, I want to say this. I mean, we have to move somewhere else. I want to point this out. Go back to the last podcast, and we talked, and Nate mentioned it. I elaborated on it. You can have your cake and eat it too. I think there's you go out there, you move Ohtani, and you bring him back with all those prospects with it. Nonetheless, within 2 years, you have to go to the luxury tax because those prospects are going to start demanding contracts. So it's only a short-term fixing if you do that. So you guys are 100% right. If you, at some point, if you want Ohtani, you absolutely have to go to the luxury tax.
Can I say this too? Trade-wise for Ohtani, you're not getting as much as you were going to get last year. You're going to get three good, really good prospects like that. You're hoping that the Angels are going to produce into something. Like you're probably going to get a Joe Adele type. You're probably going to get a Brandon Marsh type of guy, or you're probably going to get like O'Hoppe, Neto, and then another piece or two. It's not what it would have been. It's not the Juan Soto trade where you're getting dudes from the Padres. That's just not how it's going to be anymore.
I think it depends on who you're trading him to. If you're moving into a team like the Dodgers, who are 99% confident to resign them, then yeah, I think they will.
Yes, I agree. That's
the
a
Mets.
Point.
No,
we said that. I mean, Nate has said this 1,000 times. You get 2 months of trying to extend Ohtani. I don't think he's going to do it. I think he wants to test the open market and see how much he can get.
I beg to differ. If he goes to the Dodgers or if he goes to the Yankees and they go to the playoffs and they win a playoff game, they win a playoff round, and yeah, maybe they miss out on winning the World Series, but Ohtani knows it. Those 10 days after the World Series, Ohtani's going to sit and talk to the Yankees, Dodgers, whoever it is, for those 7 days, and probably hammer out a deal because he's going to be comfortable there. He's going to love it there. He's going to be like, hey, we won. We're going to do this again, whatever. So I do think that if you trade him and you make a run in the playoffs, you're probably getting to keep him.
I don't rule out the Giants as kind of like this dark horse either, by the way.
If he gets the free agency. I
mean, even if the Giants do have some guys to move that
they do. Angels
want. So, I mean, he could want going there, and people aren't talking about that. But the Giants have some money available as well. We've been focused on the Mets, who I think probably wouldn't do it now based on where they've been this year. We've been focused on the Dodgers, and we've been focused on the Yankees because the Yankees are always involved. But the reality is, watch the Giants. If anything, the Giants are going to do what they can to keep them with the Dodgers.
Mm-hmm.
We'll point that out.
See, like emotionally, I look at Ohtani, and I don't think Ohtani wants to develop three. The guy, his first spring training, I was at his first spring training. The guy was like hiding his head, running out over the thing. I know he's not that person anymore, but you saying he's going to go to another team, and then he's going to go to another team? I don't see that in his personality. Again, call me naive,
but that helps. In that way, if you're making that argument, that it helps build up Nate's argument that he'll probably go to one team, the Dodgers or the Giants, the Yankees, and stay there because it's one move. And I also think I'm gonna go back to it. Nate mentioned it before. I followed up with it. The idea that they make a good trade, they bring in pieces for the future, and show he's like, okay, I like the direction now, and comes back. But will he come back knowing that Artie won't go to the luxury cap?
Probably not.
So he's going to have that commitment from Artie. But I think it's possible.
But do you think it's really that important to him to be the top paid player of all time? You really think
No, I don't. I think he wants to win.
That is that important. I agree. I don't think that's that important. Go ahead.
I think the money is important to him. I really do.
You do.
Yeah,
okay.
Because if it wasn't important, you would not see him on every billboard everywhere. Like, I know he seems like a very humble guy, but he is. But you see him on every billboard. He's doing all these different things. Like, he cares about money.
Then why did he?
I think the money's important to him. I think he wants to win more. I think
he wanted to prove that he could play here at the time. Now that he's proved that he can play here, now it's all about the money and everything else.
I would say this, John. Let's say it this way: he went to arbitration this summer. He got $33 million.
30
when they third. Okay, that's a huge raise, a deserved raise. But if he really didn't care about the money, he didn't take that much. And plus there's another thing too, you're in the union, and the union is always going to push you to make your maximum dollar because that affects everybody else's salary. If he takes the cut and goes below market, that pushes everybody else's market down. If the best player in baseball takes a cut, so even if he wanted to take less, the odds of being able to take less they aren't there. We're on this topic. We didn't want to be there the whole time. Silver linings, Jared. What are the silver linings of this injury?
You get to see Joe Adell play. And hopefully you get to see him play on a daily basis, which is pretty cool. I know we're doing this podcast mid game right now, and I saw he had an RBI double. So it'll be exciting to see Joe Adell play and hopefully get consistent at bats because it's a chance he hasn't gotten yet in an Angels uniform at all. He's done it in the minors, but we'll see what he can do now. That's a big silver lining for me.
Nate.
Yeah, to go along with that, you're probably going to see some moves made here to end July because the way they've played recently without these guys and with these guys, they're probably not going to be in this thing come the end of July. So you're probably going to move Ohtani. You're probably going to move Renfroe. Probably going to move Matt Moore. You're going to move all these guys, which is going to give the Angels some opportunities to see guys like Trey Cabbage, to see guys like Chase Silseth pitch as a starter and just let him pitch. You're going to get to see Joe Adell get everyday at bats. Mickey Moniak should get more ABs. Like, you're going to get to see that. So I think that's really nice. And I think the one thing that I'm most excited about with the silver linings is you are not going to look at at the trade deadline and be like, okay, do we sell or do we buy? And then they just kind of sit in no man's land. They do nothing and hope that it works out for them. So that is one really good thing that I think that you'll see out of this is the Angels will have a direction. They will go that way, and it will be full head away. So I'm excited about that.
Just a follow-up, you think they're going to go ahead and trade him then?
I do. I think that once you get to August, like the end of July, right before the trade deadline, the Angels are going to be about 8 games out of the wild card. They're going to have to jump 5 teams to get into the wild card. They're going to look at it and be like, you know what, we're not there. Ohtani, you're gone. Renfroe, you're gone. Matt Moore, you're gone. Davinsky, if somebody wants him. Loop, if somebody wants him. You just Eduardo Escobar, if somebody wants him. Moustakas, if somebody wants him. You just start going down the list, and it's like, hey, if somebody's willing to way overpay for Carlos Estevez, maybe we even move him. So I think there's a bunch of guys that probably get moved, and you go into full sell mode, and you try and regroup for the offseason.
John?
I agree with everything they said. Looking at, like, as far as Joe Adell goes, I think people have been so hard. The guy is 24 years old? Did he just turn? He just turned 24 years old. And I mean, people have just been so quick to write him off when he doesn't perform. He comes up and comes down. So yeah, I would like to see Joe. Again, I was ready to start with all new prospects. And the second part is that now we know, okay, it's done. We can trade. We can trade and trade feeling good about trading because we're not thinking we're giving up because, I mean, there's really no hope. I mean, sorry.
Well, I think there's hope. I think the odds are against them. And I just want to say this. I'm going to close this off. I think, Nate and John, I think really hitting with you. The going through social media in the last couple of days, this has happened. I'm seeing more and more people, just average fans, saying it would be negligent of the Angels to not trade Ohtani at this point. So more and more people are coming around and realizing, given the injuries, it's different. If this team is healthy, it's a different story. They've shown they can compete. They're not. And, so the silver lining for me is, you guys are touching on it, I'm going to go ahead and articulate it, is that basically they have an out now. They can tell the fans, listen, half our roster's hurt. We got to look to the future. We're trying to win, and then go. And no one's gonna get mad. They might be hurt. They're watching the best player in our generation leave. Okay, and that's what he is. Ohtani to me is the best player I've seen since young Ken Griffey, and Ken Griffey didn't pitch. So, but you have to make that move. And the other side of it is, Nate mentioned, I want to see Adele play. I want to see Silseth play. I want to see Moniak play. I want to see what Taylor Ward can do. Can he get back to where he was last year? Because you got to start making contract decisions in the next year. Who's going to be a member of the 2024 Angels? And you want to build for the future and win? You want to see what these guys can do. Because if by chance they can keep them somewhat in it, then that'll be a feather in their cap, and guys you're going to want to invest in. You're going to find out real quick who are the guys you want on the 2024 and beyond Angels. And we kind of need to know that. It's a win. And to me, it's a lose for losing Trout. But it's also a win if you take that silver lining and run with it. So there you go. There you go. Any closing thoughts at all?
Yeah, I think if you trade Ohtani, your next move is to get rid of Perry Minasian as an excuse.
Okay.
Right? Think about it. I'm just saying, if you're trading Ohtani, you had how many years to try to build a winner, and you had to trade Ohtani. Yes, you build up the farm system a little bit, but Perry's your excuse. You kind of push him out the door, or Phil Nevin. As weird as that sounds, like one of those guys.
You want to fire Perry?
One of those guys probably got to go, right? Like, you had how long? You had what team that you could have put together, and you couldn't put a winning team around two of the best players in baseball. Yes, you got hurt, but you couldn't put a winning team around Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Jr. that's pitching, right? I mean, you couldn't do it. So you need a scapegoat, right? If you're already in, I think, as weird as it sounds, like if you're trading Ohtani, one of those, if not both those guys, got to go with it. Fair to say?
That's good. That's a future podcast.
Yeah, it's fair to say, Jared. He had his chances to get us to where he said he was going to. He hasn't quite done it. I'm going to stick with my same point that I've been making. I don't know why Tucker Davidson's still on this roster. This guy needs to be gone. It's going to be my point until he's gone. So I'm going to stick with my topic of Tucker Davidson. Your time is gone.
And I like Perry. I like what he's done in the farm system. I think he's developed for the first time in the Angels organization for a while. But you need a scapegoat, unfortunately. And I don't want it to be Perry because I like what he's done. But you need a scapegoat. As weird as that sounds. If you're trading Babe Ruth, you're trading Ken Griffey, you gotta blame it on somebody, right?
I mean, in that case, it might be. There are a lot of people who blame Nevin, and it would be easy if they wanted to scapegoat Nevin. All right, John. 30 seconds. We got to go. 30 seconds. Go.
Well, last time I got in trouble in this podcast a long time ago was I said, because people would say, well, I ain't going to give the Angels another $1 if they don't do something. Well, I'm a fan. So whatever I said today, I'm still a fan. If I was in SoCal, I'd be showing up to games as often as I could. I love going to Angels games, love the Angels. Frustrating, but I'm always there. I'm always there with them. And no matter.
I mean, except when you're wearing your Braves hat or your Mets hat or your.
Well, that's when I'm at a Braves game, or I'm at a Mets game. Hey, when it was Braves, I'll be in a Braves-Angels game, and you will see me wearing my Angels jersey. Thank you very much.
Okay, you better send pictures for that one.
Oh, I will.
feel betrayed. All right, we got to go. We'll pick up our teasing of John next time out. Guys, follow Talking Angels on Twitter. Follow our podcast, both audio and visual. We're back audio. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we're back in business. And hopefully no one gets hurt tonight. Hopefully nobody gets hurt. Let's just, prepare for that. We're out of here. Have a great one.